review time! Air! Just got out of Air. Jason Bateman, Matt Damon, Ben Affleck, Chris Tucker. You know, the list just goes on, right? It was a little odd to see some of these actors because I haven't seen, like, Chris Tucker in a while. This is the non-spoiler review. I'll do my best not to ruin anything, but, you know, it's based on a true story. So unless you've been living under a rock, there's probably going to be spoilers in it for you. The movie was good. The acting was solid. Obviously, I should have looked up. Forget the name. The woman king. And Fences and The Help and Amanda Waller. I can't remember her stinking name. But she crushed. She was probably one of the better acting roles of the entire movie. And then I would say Ben Affleck was right up there too. Of the people and the characters and everything, I honestly felt that Ben Affleck was more of the Phil character that he portrayed. Matt Damon felt like he was doing a little bit of what he did in Ford v Ferrari, going to convince people to buy a thing because, you know, there's not enough faith in that. And Chris Tucker, fascinating. You know, Chris Tucker was a little Chris Tuckery, so I saw it and I'm like, you are just an eccentric fellow, aren't you? Fifth Element, anybody, right? What else? I don't know. The setup was interesting. You know, you get a little history lesson of like what it was like at Nike at that time, who their competitors were with Adidas and Converse, and the whole premise is just going after Michael Jordan to get him to, you know, buy into the shoe, a shoe that hadn't even existed yet. The script was solid. There were some distracting parts for me personally. I thought that some of the information dumps, if you will, that were mostly historically centric, I found those to be a little bit shaky in moments where it's like, look, you know, Michael Jordan, he has potential to be really good. But then they would go on and be like, and he's going to be championship winning and defensiveness winning and this winning. I'm like, well, yeah, you can write that now. It's so many years past when it occurred. But do you think that they all really said those specific things at that time? Thought it was interesting the way that the conversation against Adidas and Converse kind of comes through. I have very specific questions in that I wonder if Nike has to approve some of this or Michael Jordan had to approve some of this, because I highly doubt that Adidas had any say in some of that script work. If you'd seen the movie, I bet you'd understand what I'm talking about. I don't know. It's hard to make too much of a depth conversation because it's all relative historical fact in relation to what happened. So it's like spoilers if you talk about anything. The interpersonal relationships were pretty good. You know, you see Jason Bateman and Matt Damon kind of back and forthing, or Matt Damon and, you know, the Wayans brother, I think it's Damon, with the little scene at the beginning too, like the connectivity of Sonny, the guy who Matt Damon plays, was good in that he was very genuine to everyone, and that made him really come through. He also seemed a little bit desperate in times, but I'm sure that's part of what the situation called for, was a little bit of desperation. The soundtrack, I poked my buddy next to me because he's only a little bit older than me, like 5 or 7 years, something like that. But I'm like, this soundtrack was written for you. I firmly believe this entire movie has an age group that it's intending to get to, because it would connect with people that are about 5 to 10 years older than me, just with the music. The nostalgia berries. For me personally, I'm starting to find product placement a little bit distracting when I watch movies. I didn't used to, But in the last couple years, it's really started to hit me where I'm sitting there watching, like, oh, look, the Mr. T cereal. Oh, look, what are they called? Zingers, the coconut things. They don't even exist anymore. The little red, I'm sure that's some Red 40 right there. Can't use that anyways. You know, the Wheaties box with, I forget who was on the cover. It was, I think, a gymnastic girl. But it was fascinating. It was very member-berry central. Even the cars. They made sure, like, the cars were all on point for the 80s. Everything looked like it was supposed to be there. And they were worn. A couple of them were worn the way they were supposed to. They made sure to point out, you know, the phone usage at large and how all the phones looked at the time. Almost like a reminder, like, hey, here I am talking to my phone right now. Don't forget, we had pay phones. Don't forget, we had beepers. Don't forget, we had a car phone that was fancy at the time. I don't know. Other than that, I mean, the film was shot well. Ben Affleck is a good director. I know he got what he wanted out of his actors. The editing was interesting in different ways. Some of the camera shots themselves, where they would use different focus lines or different shot lines, those were interesting choices depending on what the scenario was. And yeah, it was a decent movie. Would I recommend seeing it in theater now that I've been there? I could see waiting to watch this at home. The movie's good. Being in theater to watch it didn't necessarily enhance it. And that's about it. So I'd say, I don't know. Man, I think I gave Renfield a 6 for just its genre. I could bring Renfield down to like a 5.5, maybe even a low 5. But this has more potential to be like a 6.5 in my head, just because it is like a historical, a period piece drama of sorts. Oh, and actually, the one character that I didn't talk about enough with my friend was the agent. The agent was entertaining, and I wonder how on point that character was. Falk, I don't know, but he has a scene with Matt Damon on the phone a couple times throughout the movie, but there's one in particular where you understand why the movie gets an R rating. This movie could have been PG-13. The only reason that it got the R rating is because they wouldn't drop one or two of the F-bombs. Like, dude, you could have written this script with a couple less fucks given, and I said the bad word. You could have written this movie without those words in it, and you would have had a PG-13 movie. Easy. This could have been PG-13. Why did they have to write in all the extra F-bombs? Because it's Ben Affleck, right? That made me think of, I love Good Will Hunting. I believe that's an R-rated movie as well. It has some serious emotional drama and everything. But imagine if they would have taken out, my grandma told me this a number of times, imagine if they would have taken out that one word. My understanding is that PG-13, you can only use one or two of those, and the rest would be fine. And there's no nudity, there's no sexual anything, so it really just came down to the language, that I could tell. Yeah. I think that everybody did what they were supposed to do. The movie was fine. And you can see it at home and get the same amount of experience out of it. Love to know what you think. Like, subscribe, because that's what you say when you're doing YouTube videos. Feel free to comment. I love having movie discussions, so bring it on. Tell me what you think. And Zach the bartender signing off. Don't have a good day. Have a great one.